today. So I thought I'd do a bit of a project share with you. So as you all know, I'm part of a 6-way swap, and this month I sort of done in two themes in 1 month. Everybody had finished, and I thought, well, save everybody waiting for me, I may as well get it finished and sort of everybody can have their pages, because I hate thinking that everybody's waiting for me. Anyways, one of the last berry theme I had was sewing, and I think I've shown you, I'm not sure, have I shown you the paper one? I'm not sure if I've shown you this. I think I have. Yeah, because I remember showing you the inside. So you've seen the paper version, so it was vintage sewing. So now I'm going to show you the fabric version. This is the vintage fabric pages. So there's a lot going on. And the first thing is their tag. Now all the stamps I had from the lovely Rian. I haven't had. It's just on a very, very long loan. Messing. So these stamps I had from Rian, and they really did help me out. So that was the first one, and then the other ones were these. So lots of different ones. Some of the stamps aren't in there because I've just washed them. No, they're on the side ready for me to wash. Yes, so any of the stamps that you see today have come from the lovely Rian. So like I said, I'm on a very long loan. So I've put this tag in, and on the tag there's a little sewing machine, and if you unclip this, oh gosh, how do I do it? It does come undone there we go. If you unclip that, it comes undone, which means you can bring the tag down to write it on a flat surface, and you've also got the back. Also stamped the back as well, ready for you to stamp. So all that, let's come off the back page, and all that, and I've used some of this fabric. Now I had this in brown, so I haven't got any more left. This was the last bit of brown sewing fabric I had in my stash, and I just thought it really spoke vintage sewing to me, so I've used it on the background. The other thing I've used a lot is Lorna's, I think it's called vintage sewing. It might be called a different thing, but I'm sure it's called vintage sewing. But most of the ephemera on the side is from Lorna. Lorna sells PDF printable downloads ephemera, different ones, absolutely epic ones, and she is found on Etsy. I will leave her link in the description bar below so you can go and check her out. But most of the ephemera I had from her. So you clip then this, because it's fabric, and go through. So most of my pages I've got where you can write on it. So at the back there's lots of like little vintage sewing, vintage laces. I've got my vintage laces out, and I use some on this project. So there's a very deep pocket in the back, and in the back, let me move the paper one. In the back we have some of these. So these are tilde, I didn't have these from Lorna. These are tilde ephemeras. So that one says buttons for fashion, and again I've just stamped on the back with my very long stamps. And that's the other one. Again, the Matilda buttons, and I think I've done a scissors one on the back there. And then this one is actually a paper bag. No, it's not a paper bag. What do they call it? Not acetate. Oh, you know what type of... somebody's screaming at me now. Is that bag? I can't think what it's called. Anyway, I've used one of these. I've cut it down, and I've put a lot of vintage laces around, and then I've also covered the back, so you can write on the back Mary, and this is for Mary, by the way, because I am sad. So this comes out, and it's quite a deep bag. So I made it so you can write on anything. And then you've got another tilde, a little spool, and it says best quality yarn, embroidery yarn for all your needle crafts. And I've done a little scissors stamp on the back of that. That's what's in that pocket. And that was in the back of there. Let me bring it away a second. So the next pocket, first of all, I have a ribbon. Now I bought this ribbon from a craft fair, and it's in centimeters. I think it's in centimeters. Well, anyway, I've put it to, all you've got to do is pull it down, but I've put it to 21 centimeters. I thought it really tuned in with what I was trying to do. So I've used my very long stamps on the back of some plain cotton. I really wanted something to pop, so I've used it on the back there. I then sewn my vintage laces like on the bottom, so I sort of like pages where you've got like little bits and pieces on the edge of the pages. It really, for me, it makes the journal, because when you put a journal together, I like it quite chunky, and I like the fact that the laces are showing on the side. So anyways, I've sewn 2 vintage buttons that are there. Behind there then, this is a really deep pocket. So I have put some ephemera in, but to show you how deep it is, look, I've even got some bits and pieces in there. It's quite deep. You could fit your hand in there, so you could fit it with all sorts. So I have a piece of 80s, I think it's called a, well anyway, these are tea stained like little paper writing pieces. This is a die, but it reminded me of a sewing pattern, because you can get sewing patterns where you have to cut at this angle. So I attached that, and it's cut on double-sided paper, so I left it as that. This then came from Lorna, and it is a corset, an elegant corset, and I've left it plain in the back as well for Mary to write in. This again has come from Lorna. Love the shoes and the fashion of the shoes, and I've done a little bit of stamping on the back, but not so much. And then I had this die sort of floating around. Because it's so plain, I didn't want to sort of really go in there with my stamps on my fabrics, because I've already done it on this page. So what I did, I used one of my very long stamps, and I stamped on the back. So that's what's in that pocket, and they sort of go a bit like that. So that's what's in there. Now the front pocket, that's a little bit similar. So there's a pocket just behind here. First of all, I'll talk about this. So the picture itself I had from Jane Marge. Now I bought some images ages ago, and I've only got now round to using some of them. So that's where the picture has come from, and I've just stitched it onto like some brown and white fabric, but there's a pocket just there, and I have actually sewn that button as well there. So let me talk you through this. Again, just tea-dyed ripped paper. I made sure I wanted to be really old and really as if it had been there for years. And I've just stamped a sewing machine on the edge. I've gone ahead and I've torn some paper, inked it, and then glued it on the top. And then what I did do is I did put one page in so it folds over. These then, this is a dress form I sort of created. It was a piece of paper, and I wanted a dress form, so I sort of drew around it and then put one of them in. I've left it blank on the back. And then these are just plain tags. So one's got a sewing machine on. I haven't done any stamping to these, and I've got some ribbon on the top of that too. So that's that page. Now the third page is this page. This must be my favorite page of it all. So on this page, what I've done is I've created some on the paper page. If some of you may remember here, remember I created like little samples of lace. Well, I sort of copied what I did on the paper page to the fabric page. So I've got little fabrics of lace all the way up, and I've got fabric behind the lace. So it like sort of matching sort of thing. But up the top, I've got a sample of fabrics because I thought, well, if you're in the shop, what would you have? So I've just thrown together some little samples of fabrics. I popped it there. This then is like a belly band, but it's not. It's made out of all my vintage laces. It had one long strip of cotton, and then I just attached vintage laces to it. This came from Marlou in one of her kits, and it says vintage finds, and I just thought that really tied in well. But all this is vintage laces, and then behind that is some ephemera, which I'll go through in a second. But again, it's just like a belly band, but it's not. But you can sort of see my stitches and how I've done it. So in here we have, these have come from Lorna, and this one is, I'm trying to think what it says. I think it's all in French because I can't read it. It's either that or I can't read. So it's got one of them. I think they're like little advertisements. Again, just in my stash, and I just thought, well, use it because I don't want to be hoarding stuff. It's plain on the back. I don't know whether everybody remembers me doing this. So it got me thinking, vintage sewing, they would have had to have mail of some sort, whether it be patterns or fabric or some sort of letters maybe of their designs. That's what was going through my mind. So I did this ages ago. I did it as part of Sam's collab, and I loved the feel of it, and I loved the fact it looked really vintage. Now on the envelope itself, apart from the small fabrics, it doesn't look very vintage at all, except when you open it up. Now I've put a piece, this is vintage lace, I've put a piece of real soft thin vintage lace, and I just thought maybe someone had sent that to say, well, I want a dress or whatever. So I've popped that in there. That then slips in there, and then these two slip in there. So a page opens up like so. That's what the middle looks like. So the last page is this page. Now, this has come off. So basically, it's to go there. The little tab at the top, I was making a handbag toiletry bag on Friday's Live, and I used a zip. And this was at the top of the zip. And I just thought, well, that fitted perfect with what I wanted to do. And it's not till you sort of use things and you look at things, and especially with journaling, because there is so much you can use in a book, that I really wanted to get the feel of using that. And I've attached like it's a little ruler, measuring ruler. So I've attached it to the paper clip, and it does hold there. So again, this fabric I bought ages ago, came across it. I have got loads left of this one, but it's the same as the front except it's in blue. And this I created out of old paper. I've put like what they call it, wax stamps on there, and it says vintage sewing. I've stamped on this. This is all tea dyed, and then behind this there are two things. Firstly, this 1900s ladies fancy Editon something, I don't know. I've stamped on the back a little vintage sewing machine that pops in there, and then this I actually made out of papers and bits that were in a sewing pack. So the top is, this is all stamped on top. The picture was already on the paper. I've included that ribbon again with a tape measure, and I've included some vintage laces, and there's more fabric here. When you open it up, you've got the patterns on one side, and then again I've stamped on this side. Again, you'll see the pattern because it's like tissue paper. It's really thin paper, more like fabric paper. And again, I just stitched some more. This was actually ribbon. I took the wire out and I made it So it's stitched on the top. I didn't do any stamping in this because I thought this would be a perfect place to write in. Again, some things from the vintage sewing pattern. And then this bit, lastly, is I was gifted some beautiful vintage appliques and vintage material from a vintage wedding dress of the lovely Sharon. So I've included a snippet of that in there. So this has come from a real vintage wedding dress, and I just thought, yeah, I've got to attach that because it just fitted in with what I was doing, and I know that you'll appreciate for what it is as well as I do, but I've got loads of that left because I do use this fairly. So that pops in there, and then this pops on like so. So they are, well, that is my vintage sewing journal pages, my paper and my fabric. I really do hope you've enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I would love to know what you think. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Have a lovely rest of the week wherever you are in the world. And until next time, bye for now.